You asked me out, and we went to this pretty nice sushi restaurant. I was close to the beach, and we spent like 4 hours there.
At the restaurant?
At the restaurant.
Yes.
Talking. And then we ended up going to the beach after that.
Yeah, technically I went to a party in between.
Right, we had a part 2 of that date the same night.
The same night, yes. That's right.
So romantic.
I mean, yes, I asked you to take me out because I had just injured myself.
And your friend, yeah.
And I had injured my friend,
yes. Accidental.
Yes, shout out to my friend whose tooth I knocked out with my forehead. Teeth, actually, I should say. Both.
Yeah, it was multiple teeth.
But yeah, so that had happened and you were kind of like, are you okay? Like, do you need anything? And I was like, well, if you want to make me feel better, you can take me out for sushi. So smooth.
So smooth.
So smooth. Also just, you know, such top energy. No, just kidding. Because you wouldn't make a very concrete move. You were like, I'm worried about you. Like, are you okay? Do you need anything? And I was like, well, just take me out.
I guess part of it was still like...
Boundaries.
Yeah, boundaries with the role that I had during the trip.
Yes.
I didn't know how to navigate that, even though I kept thinking about you after the trip, naturally.
Yeah, and I really thought that actually, I thought it was kind of like, oh, it was just a fling on the trip. That's kind of what I thought afterwards. You know, I thought, oh, this was just like a little fun 2-week fling on this trip, and this is not gonna last. And then I felt like maybe that wasn't the case during this lesson, this final guitar lesson that we had.
Okay.
I was like, oh, maybe she is interested in me. Because I was thinking in she, her pronouns back then.
Thanks, though.
We went to this Korean-owned sushi restaurant in White Rock. Still, honestly, probably some of the best sushi. I really like that place.
I mean,
miss that place a lot.
South of Vancouver, for sure. And it's no longer there.
Yeah, it no longer exist. But yeah, that's kind of sad.
Yeah.
And our relationship outlasted the restaurant.
By far. It was years ago when I closed it. Anyway, there's, you know, we fell in love so fast.
Yes.
And we were so hot for one another. And yeah, it was very exciting 4 months before you went to school back east.
Yeah, in the States.
In the States at first, yeah.
And I think, it felt like, I mean, I know we kind of talked about like, wow, it's very inconvenient that we really fell hard right before I was supposed to start university in the States. And for me, it was kind of like still not even a question as to whether or not we should try to have a long distance relationship.
Oh, yeah. At that time especially. There was this brief time, like, I guess a year later, while Simon was still going out, that I, prompted us to take an 8-month break. Even though we still spoke every day. But there was no question in my mind at that time after that 4 months. It was just so lovely. I had fallen for you so hard, head over heels. And yeah, that was a super hard time when Simon left. It was really just heartbreaking. Just to not be with you for like a week in,
Yeah, of course, it's now a very distant memory. 2009, like April, and then me going to school, and like just so much. Yeah, we were just like kind of inseparable during that time. I got in a lot of trouble by my parents because they were like, "You're supposed to go to university and think about that," and like just I don't know. I can't even honestly remember why, but I think
Well, your future was their concern.
yeah, they just didn't like how, yeah, I guess like head over heels we were, but. And I remember just when, I mean, it was only maybe 3 weeks after I had left, you came to visit me at the school that I was going to in New York. And I think it's really funny because actually, maybe, a couple people, but one person in particular from that time in my life said that they always felt like we would stay together, that they felt like it was real love that time. And they're like, yeah, I just really always thought that you would make it, you know? And that's really sweet because you don't really see, and of course, I think it's love is such a subjective experience that you don't really know, and you think that other people are maybe also just as in love, or other people also have that kind of like intensity or sort of like forever in their mind. And I mean, yeah, we say like, it's easy to say at that time that we were feeling like that and that we thought we would last forever, though we did break up. Ooh. Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier as we were just kind of preparing for this, and how that still hurts a little bit. Not to the same intensity, but just thinking about how hard that time was.
Oh yeah, I still feel guilty. I still feel so bad for, especially this one interaction we had that stood out to me when you were pretty upset. And it was just heartbreaking. It was like a movie.
I didn't mean to talk about that time.
That's okay. That's part of it. Getting real.
Like it felt like a much bigger deal. And now it feels like in kind of, you can see it in perspective and be like, well, first of all, we've been together for 16 years. And we were broken up for 8 months. Like it feels like nothing. But at that time it felt like just like.
It was so hard. It was so hard on both of us. I was so conflicted. I was just this, young person thinking that maybe I should not tie myself down or, try to play the field. But you came back from school. We celebrated your sister's birthday. And right before that, like a day or two before that, we decided to get back together.
Yes. It was my brother's birthday. Yeah.
Sorry, you're right.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
That's okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But we were celebrating it together. But yeah, the 8 months was hard, but I think it's so funny because we knew that summer before we broke up that we were gonna break up. Not for a long time, but I don't know if you remember, but it was like...
You're bringing it up. Now I'm remembering.
Yeah.
We had talked about it. It was a discussion that we had. And
Well...
I remember going to...
It was your decision.
It was that you were very begrudgingly accepting and trying to go along with. And we went... I remember going to Victoria with your friend and visiting Bouchard Gardens.
Oof.
And that was so rough. It was so like serendipitous, I guess is the word, where it's like, it was just so gorgeous of a setting. Beautiful garden, beautiful colors everywhere. And yet there was this like weight of heaviness in our hearts.
I was trying to talk about how like good everything was and like nice and exciting everything was, including just like, I mean, we've talked about this a lot with our friends, but when you came to visit me that first time, within basically like what we had been together 5 months at that time, and you came to visit. I mean, it was kind of desperate on my part because like I was just so homesick and I missed you so much that I was like, just come visit. Like,
and so I did.
So you did, which was great. And yeah, and then like after your trip and you were going to actually Montreal by bus from New York. And yeah, just like we were crying so much at that bus station.
It was like ridiculous from other, thinking about other people's perspective. But we were just like, just
devastated,
wailing. We were crying so hard. We were like, I just couldn't let you go. And I had to get on the bus, and the bus driver was kind of chuckling, but I think he found it very endearing. And he's like, we gotta go. You're gonna see each other. Don't worry. Don't be so sad.
But like, I think that is something to, I guess, again, like, it's weird to now, not weird, I don't know what the right word is. It almost feels surreal because we just didn't know anything different. So like the intensity, when you think about it, you're like, wow. And maybe that's why people thought what they thought. I don't know.
But there's a weird place to go with it, as far as like gender and queerness and stuff. But like, I think part of the lens we've had looking back at that time, since I've transitioned and all that, has been like, it was so lesbian. Like we did, we could not.
Yeah, fast.
We could not bear to not be in each other's presence for that long. And I feel like straight couples, like especially the guy, whether feeling it or not, would not like show it the way I did.
Oh, yeah.
I was just like,
That is also true.
So sad.
Like the last day before you left, and I had to go to class. And I was in this evening class, and you were just crying in my dorm room by yourself.
And then your roommate comes in. And she's like, what? You're gonna miss her that much? Can't believe you're crying.
Yeah, you missed me while
I was
in
like all
class.
embarrassed, and I was like, oh, don't look at me.
But I mean, you were embarrassed, but you were also just like, whatever, like it is what it is.
It didn't, the embarrassment did not touch how much I was going to miss you. I felt awkward, obviously not seeming masculine enough, hard enough.
You did, hey? You felt that a little?
Well, yeah, because I felt like just slight eyebrows raising of me, like being that upset alone in your room. But obviously I was so upset that like, really I was just more concerned about trying to milk every second with you that I could. And you were in class notes. I knew I had to go, and I wasn't going to see you for a while, and that was just so upsetting.
I'm so glad that at least some of these memories have stayed, because it's impossible to remember everything, I remember some of the things from all of your trips, like coming to visit me in New York.
Well, and in Waterloo. Right? There was like this...
Yeah,
we talked about my policing myself and how I interacted with you in the world in front of others. And you had roommates that were cool, and I did not feel like I would be judged for really just being more cute and more soft, and we had some great times. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how there were a few like femmes, girls throughout our relationship where it felt like you could be one of the girls. And I had this realization sort of a few years ago where I was like, oh, wow, like I can't believe I never thought about this one dynamic with someone that, you know, I knew for a long time. It's a kind of like a family friend, you know, whatever, close friend at the time, and had a, you know, close relationship. And, you know, she really liked you as well, even though, you know, I mean, it's just kind of how the relationship worked out. You were like coming over often, so you were also seeing this person, and yeah, like just kind of felt like we were like, you know, we would go on these walks, like have a good time, and kind of like frolicking
Yeah.
as girls. Like that's kind of what it really felt like.
Sure, like, yeah. Yeah. I mean, frolicking is the word that comes to my mind, but I see why you say that. And
Oh, that's not the word that comes to mind.
no, but like, but sort of, I guess. It's just like, yeah, like there was just like, again, a softness that,
Just
and like,
cuteness and joking around.
Yeah.
And
yeah, and I didn't feel like I had to put on this face of being like the guy who was not part of that, and
Yeah.
differentiating myself that way.
yeah.
And that felt welcome. And of course, if it felt welcome to me, I would express it more. I wouldn't try to police it because it was really exhausting and hard to police it. It didn't feel good. It was just like a safety measure, right?
Yeah, and inadvertently, sometimes I think you were also still expected to sort of like go back to or like play that role as like the guy that is, you know, like is with his girlfriend and his girlfriend's friend. But I think what we're saying is like there were just a few people who really allowed that to not feel like it was so rigid, and that you didn't have to just be that, you know? And it's about more like the quality of like relationship in the sense of like how you relate to one another. I think that was more like queer, and I mean like capital Q queer. Like it didn't feel like it had to fit some kind of norm, and it didn't, you know? So
That time, you know, beyond, well, in Waterloo, but also just around that time in our lives in general, you would come back for the summer. I recall there's just certain photos from those few years that just look so gay. Like pretty lesbian. And yeah, like there's some strange feelings I need to navigate with like sharing those photos publicly, because in my transition, it's, you know, I had not even come close to transitioning at that time in my life, but you know, maybe that's something I should be more okay with, because yeah, it was really indicative of this softness and not so, you know, classically cis-het dynamic that we had.
yeah, I think in almost in some ways it's like the very like kind of trying to meet the cishet expectations, norms, photos, like we almost look less natural.
And I don't think that they're as
Like
memorable
prom
to us.
grad picture comes to mind.
Yep.
You know, just like the very like,
Wearing a fucking tux.
yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.